Hey, my friend, would you like to learn some top biohacks for looking and feeling your best? Would you like to hear example morning and evening routines that two female biohackers have and hear their top tips on getting healthy and staying healthy? Then stay tuned for a great episode. On this show, I bring on not one, but two female biohackers. So they share their tips so you can learn what they're doing and start incorporating these health and wellness tips into your lifestyle. If you're enjoying the show, please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get notified when we release new episodes. Our goal on this channel is to help you look and feel younger so you can live your most adventurous life. Finally, if you want to get thicker, fuller, and stronger hair, make sure to check out fullyvital.com. We've put together a set of natural products that helps to stop hair thinning and get you the hair that you deserve. So check out fullyvital.com, and I'll include a link down below as well. With that said, let's get right into it. Hey, my friend, welcome back to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Today, I have two wonderful guests, two ladies that I consider friends of mine, and their names are Rachel Varga and Katie Moore. In terms of introduction, Rachel Varga is a board-certified aesthetic nurse specialist since 2011 with over 20,000 procedures performed, an international clinical trainer for other physicians and nurses, celebrity skin expert featured on Bulletproof Radio, Ask the Health Expert podcast with JJ Virgin, Live with Dr. Kalyan Petrucci, and Naveen Jain, and more. Rachel is also a speaker and a four-time academically published award-winning author in the field of plastic and aesthetic nursing, as well as executive board member and peer reviewer for the Plastic Surgical Nursing Journal. Through education in skincare, skin and laser rejuvenation, non-surgical solutions, healing lifestyle, and biohacking practices, Rachel helps inspire others with her unique toolkit to navigate and strategize aging impossibly well using the holistic science of beauty at rachelvarga.ca. where one-on-one sessions for at-home and in-clinic skin rejuvenation are available. Katie Moore. Katie's mission is to help you achieve success without sacrificing your health and happiness. Every week, she comes out with new product reviews about technology, supplements, and habits that can help you live a better life. Katie has spent years learning everything there is to know about human optimization, peak performance, and biohacking. Katie's investigated and tried keto, carnivore, vegan, red light therapy, infrared saunas, whole body vibration, nootropics, meditation, biotech devices, longevity supplements, and a whole lot more. With that said, ladies, welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks Show.
Thank you so much for having us. I feel like after listening to both of our, resumes, it's just crazy. Like when you say all of that, I'm like, I'm still learning so much, and I think what a great time to be alive, because I think that there is so much new information and I'm just trying to devour it all up. So I feel like I know a little bit about biohacking, but I'm like at the tip right now. I'm like, I need more.
Yeah, we're all learning. And I've had Rachel on the show before. We've talked skincare, and we'll touch on some of that as well on this show. And just as a preface, Rachel and I had a session with Rachel, I believe it was 6 months ago. And we got a boatload of stuff that she shipped to me. Thank you, Rachel. And I'm still using it. So I'm not the perfect user of cosmetic and beauty products, but I'm working on it and my skin's getting better. So
that's great for us. Let's just keep your outsides feeling as good as your insides. So yes. It's so nice being able to be here with Katie and I. We're also the co-hosts of the Beauty and the Biohacker podcast, where we regularly record content with some of the leading experts in the space of aging optimization, biohacking, and all that cool stuff. So we blend the best of both worlds, right? How can we look and feel our best on the inside? And then also, how can we optimize the largest organ of our body, which is a direct reflection of what's going on the inside? So this is going to be a fun conversation.
Absolutely. So let's get started real quick. I know that was a very decorated resume that I read out, but tell us about how both of you got into biohacking, beauty, and in the health and wellness space.
So I started in the rejuvenation space in 2011. And before that, I was a pediatric ICU nurse. And at that point, I was also taking my med school prerequisites. So that's why I have actually a double board certification. So I'm a board certified RN and then double board certified as a plastic surgical nursing. I have my CANS certification in the USA. And I started to make some observations, helping people with their skin, doing laser rejuvenation treatments and all sorts of other non-surgical things. Became an international instructor, speaker, academic article. I write articles. I sit on the board of a journal, as you mentioned. But I started to clue into one thing, that there's a subset of my clients that were actually typically aged 60 to 80. The subset of clients were just crushing life. And this was like the first time that, say, for example, they met with me to talk about their skin. I was thinking to myself, these people look so good. What is different with them? And so that led me down the rabbit hole of actually what is radiance, right? So it's very easy for me to understand the technologies that are available on the market, the best skincare, antioxidants, peptides, dermal rolling, how we can integrate that at home and an in-clinic plan together. But I've gone down this whole path of actually separating from just the Western rejuvenation aesthetics model to now incorporating biohacking. And I've never looked back. And my clients that are biohackers, they're just simply the most radiant, resilient humans out there, in my opinion. And so that's how Katie and I connected. Katie actually wanted to interview me. And then it was like, whoa, we got this amazing kind of like energy between us. Let's create our own show. And Katie has taught me a ton in the biohacking space. Obviously, Dave Asper is a friend of mine. So a couple of years ago, I started to employ all this stuff too. And I've never looked back with combining both the at-home in-clinic options and the latest biohacking tips and tricks. So yeah, that's kind of how Katie and I connected, and we started down this rabbit hole, and we've never looked back, have we?
No. Yeah. And for myself, I'll keep it pretty brief, but I was kind of in my late 20s. It almost felt like a quarter life crisis where I just started experiencing so much brain fog. And I, was changing jobs and I was really unhappy, and nothing, I was following the standard American diet and, not really thinking that there was, anything else out there. And then all of a sudden I was listening to a couple of different podcasts, one of them being with Dave Asprey. You started talking about how you can hack your brain using these nootropics. And I was like, what is this? And so that sent me down this crazy rabbit hole of just investigating all of these different supplements. And so I really started with like trying to, basically tailor my brain to be smarter and for me to perform at a higher level, but not have to work as hard. And it worked out. And so then I ended up, getting promoted. And then I realized when I was, working this job that I was starting to accumulate a lot of knowledge, and that I've always wanted to be on camera but I wanted to share something too, like partly, being a professionally trained journalist was about educating people. And so there was this blend of two worlds, making a YouTube channel, but also talking about health and wellness stuff that I thought was really fringe. And selfishly, I kind of started it to find a community, because at the time when I started, there weren't a lot of people talking about this, and there still aren't. I mean, you say, what do you do? And when you say biohacking, they're like, what's that? And so I know how to now navigate around that a little bit better. But, as we started to invest a lot of money and experiment with all these crazy gadgets, I realized some things can potentially work really well, tracking your sleep, tracking your exercise, etc. There's a lot of other things that are harder to quantify, but it doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't do that. Things like breath work and meditation and, even cold therapy and stuff. And so over the last few years, I feel like I've gone through this journey of like starting with the brain, moving to the kind of body, the physical self, how to get in the best shape, what to eat. And then last year was spiritual and really kind of unpacking some of that, doing some Joe Dispenza. This year, though, I am on the Sinclair train 100%, and I am all about longevity. So we are really like, I'm only 33, but I'm like, this is the time in my life in which I should be optimizing for my 80s and 90s and into my hundreds. So that's sort of where I feel like it's, and that's why I said at the beginning, I'm just fascinated by how much stuff is out there that I still haven't explored yet. So it's always just a really kind of fun field to be in, because there's so many new things coming out to test and, hopefully report back on.
Yeah, for sure. When I got into this, was it almost 3 years ago? The science was just breathtaking at that point. And now it just seems like every week there's something new coming out. So one person can't actually keep up with all the new advancements, science, companies, and longevity, and delaying the aging process, finding out new pathways or addressing these existing pathways. It's a really fascinating time to be here, and I expect in the next couple of decades we'll start to see some real shifts, like reversal of aging. So it's a very exciting time, Katie and Rachel. So let's start with what you talked about briefly. Let's segue into the brain first, because you said you had brain fog, and then you found some solutions that helped you get a better brain. So can you share some maybe even free supernatural tips, and then maybe some better ones that you've come across that have helped you personally improve your brain? And Rachel, you can go after, please.
Yeah, this is such a complex, there's no one size fits all to getting a better brain. I can tell you a couple things that work for me, but I always recommend that people, understand this is not medical advice. It's just my own anecdotal data. So I might have actually gone about it the wrong way when I started, because instead of looking at, the kind of some of the foods and even physical activities I was doing, I just went straight to like, give me a pill and I want to be smarter, right? Like I watched Limitless way too much as a kid, and I just envisioned that that's what the world was like for nootropics. So I bought so many of them, the racetams, all these kind of like fringe things, and all of the, natural supplements as well that are supposed to help with neurogenesis. I tried that. I have to say, like maybe less than a handful have stuck around since the beginning. But what it did for me, though, was it opened my eyes to the idea that there is a way to start to feel better. So it moved the needle, I'd say maybe 5%. Then I went in down that rabbit hole of ketogenic diet, and I started to really monitor how much of my carb intake I was, getting every day, and really started to focus on getting some healthy fats. And there always was this fat phobia growing up of like, don't eat too much fat, and all of this stuff. And so, putting butter in your coffee for the first time can be kind of traumatizing. Mm-hmm. But when I drank it and had bulletproof coffee and then felt satiated and felt focused and energized for the day, I was like, I got to keep doing this thing. And so again, it's like this trial and error. And now bulletproof coffee is pretty much a staple in my life. I love the ketogenic diet works really well for me. I also changed my exercise too. I was a really intense runner and cyclist, and pushing my body to like limits that were not healthy for me necessarily. And I think that there was a lot of fatigue and not enough refueling. And so I sort of just went back to the basics, and I'm still doing a lot more of like hiking and just kind of grounding, getting out in nature, getting sunlight in my eyes first thing in the morning, and more like primal kind of movements and exercises rather than the very like kind of almost marathon style running that I was doing. I still run because I love the endorphins, but it's not quite as intense. And then of course there was, meditation and breath work, and hot and cold therapy has changed the way that I focus and think every day. We actually are super, super lucky. In our complex, we have a dry sauna, and then we have a pool outside. And because we're in Northern California, it's cold in the winter. It's about 40 degrees sometimes. So every single morning I get up at 5:30 and I go and I sauna and I ice bath, and I have never felt more alive. For the rest of the day, I'm on. It's like something is triggered in my brain. And I know what it is because I've looked into it. There's this element of pain that happens that quick, when you're in the cold and you're shivering. And in doing something like that, it actually is going to be triggering dopamine to be released in your brain later on in the day. So Andrew Huberman, who I am a huge fan of, talks about this on his podcast, is a really cool hack for people who have trouble focusing or with motivation. And so I do that now religiously because it gets me going in the morning and it keeps me sustained throughout the day. So those are just a couple of things that I do now and have learned from. And so I will now pass the torch over to Rachel to talk a little bit more about the stuff that she does.
I love talking about the brain. The brain is kind of the baseline. And after having hosted over 180 interviews, one of the cool things with Katie, Faraz, and I is we have our own shows and platforms. And Katie and I just actually, we collaborate on one of those platforms together. So we get to smash our brains together and interview some of the leading experts in the world. Like, seriously, you are not going to learn this stuff in traditional school. So when it comes to the brain, I've really learned that if you want to have better skin, you're going to have to also look at your hormones. And if your brain's out of whack, your production of hormones are definitely going to be off kilter. So one of the things that I've done to support my brain is I've actually been in 2 pretty rough car accidents. And what I noticed after those incidents, none of them were my fault. I was just, trucking along doing my own thing, and wham, ish happened.
Texting? You were texting, weren't you?
No, the other people were texting. The other one was texting. The other one was just like totally zombified, out to lunch, didn't even slow down, red a red light situation. Okay. So it's all good. You move past it, right? So what I started to understand with biohacking is that I could utilize biohacking to get my health back, right? So I was noticing with my brain, I've always been like pretty cool, calm, collected, never really had any issues with anxiety or anything like that. And then after these car crashes, I just noticed I was a little bit more anxious than usual. I noticed some issues with my cycles as well, some irregularities there, which I pinpoint to maybe having my pituitary shook up a little bit. And then downstream having issues with peptide formation. And then, of course, hormones being produced. So the brain really, you have to look at your brain as being the baseline for everything. We have to optimize our body, mind, spirit, energy for a higher level of radiance and beauty. The brain is the mind component, which then also filters into the energetic component as well. So we can use biohacking to see what our brain is up to, and also our heart. So looking at metrics like heart rate variability, how well we're sleeping, potentially using things like the Oura Ring, the 8 Sleep Mattress Pro Pad cover. There's all these different things that we can use to monitor what's going on. And I highly recommend that if you're new to biohacking, that you start to learn how to monitor yourself. And what I've learned from this is we can actually use things like cold therapy. Like Katie mentioned, I am here in Canada, and we had an ice bath in our backyard, which we use. My hubby's a pro athlete. I've been doing cold therapy, red light therapy for 15 years or so, before biohacking was really a thing. And we broke the ice. We had to use ice to crack. We had to use an axe to break the ice open. And I went for it. I love cold therapy. The first time you do it, it's really hard. But as Katie said before, you feel so good afterwards. And I would also like to put forward that I do notice an impact with my nervous system regulation. So if any one of you are tuning in and you're dealing with anxiety and you just feel like your brain isn't where you would want it to be in regards to stress and resiliency, trying cold therapy is really great for that. Also, grounding to support our brain is also helpful. That's working on the different ion gated voltage channels in our cells. Our mitochondria make ATP. What happens when we make that ATP is hydrogen ions get kicked off. And if we're not making regular contact with the earth, we actually get too positive. So that can actually interfere with our body mechanics and making healthy peptides and hormones. So something really simple as contacting the earth for about 15-20 minutes a day, you're going to have more of that ion gradient reestablished. So you're going to be both balanced with your positive and negative ions. You're also going to be reaping the benefits of, if you are grounding, you're getting away from the city centers, Wi-Fi, EMF. You're also going to have better blood flow to your brain. And we know this through actually looking at the gluing of our red blood cells. So when we're yammering away on our cell phone or we're working on our computer and we haven't grounded that day, our red blood cells will actually congeal and stick together. And that actually won't allow them to flow smoothly through all of our blood vessels and microcirculation. The skin is a direct reflection of how good your blood flow really is in your body as well. So there's many reasons to incorporate biohacking for brain health. So we talked about the cold therapy. We talked about grounding, meditation, as Katie mentioned as well. These are all elements that you might think, okay, that's all, good to do. but it actually really impacts your level of resiliency and radiance, which that is really what I love to unpack. I really do pretty deep meditation. So last night I hung out with my girlfriend. We did like 2-hour meditation. I do these a couple of times a week. And through my biohacking tracking devices, I actually know I'm reaping benefits because it's lowering my resting heart rate. I'm getting deeper sleep. And then I'm also getting an elevation in my HRV, which shows good recovery and good cardiovascular function. So the brain is connected to beauty. And hopefully I explained that well.
Yes, you did. Thank you for the wonderful tips. I'll just add one more that I've been doing, and both of you mentioned this too, is the meditation. I've been doing some deep meditations lately. And in particular, what I've been doing is I've been becoming very attuned to any thoughts. So obviously we catch our thoughts as they come up in meditation, and that's the purpose of it, is to know thyself. And so when thoughts come up, I inspect the thought, analyze it, and say, is this thought from the future or the past? And if it's from the past, is it associated to an emotion? So am I getting emotionally charged up because of this thought? Is it creating peptides and neurotransmitters that are then signaling my body into stress? And so as much as I can, when I catch those, I try to remove the emotion. I've been doing some work at removing all of the charged emotions from all of the past thoughts. So then it just becomes non-charged. So when those thoughts come in, you don't really judge. You don't feel bad. You don't feel stressed. You don't feel low. It's just what it is, and it's wisdom. And so you can move forward in life and look forward to better things as opposed to the past weighing you down. So that's one thing I've been playing with, and I love doing that. All right, next question for you ladies is, let's talk about some biohacks for looking your best, because we talked about the brain. Let's talk about the body and skin in particular. So Rachel, you go first this time, please.
Sure. So if we're thinking about traditional biohacking, I'd say sleep. So your sleep optimization, there's many different layers here. Katie and I do have a favorites page on our website, beautyandthebiohacker.com, where you can actually find out some of our pre-vetted stuff. There's promo codes, affiliate links there. But that's like a really great place to start to learn what Katie and I absolutely love and use all the time. But optimizing our sleep for that baseline is paramount. When we're looking at aging, we want to make sure that we're giving our body the best chance possible at rejuvenating itself. That's what sleep does. Our brain detoxes while we sleep. And there's a great TED Talk talking about how your brain actually shrinks. And then all of this fluid, your cerebral spinal fluid, actually flushes out toxins, then down your spinal cord, and then diffuses throughout the body. That's how we detox the brain, is sleeping. So first of all, optimizing your sleep. We're talking air purifiers in your room, blackout blinds, temperature mattress pad regulation, making sure you're not eating too much before bed, making sure you're limiting your LED red light therapy. No, limiting your LED, but doing red light therapy. I have photobiomodulation running almost all the time. I have a red light here when I work. I have it in my bathroom. And if I miss getting my red light in before bed, I actually notice I don't sleep as well. There's many other things that I'm probably forgetting about. That's just part of my daily routine. I use things like Somavatic behind me. I wear the arc pendant. I do a lot from an electromagnetic perspective as well, biohacking for aging well, because of what I mentioned before. When we're around a lot of EMFs, our blood cells actually won't flow as well. So that's why I literally do 1 or 2 days a week, 4x4ing 3 hours into the bush to just get away from EMFs so that my body has a chance to restore itself. My sleep is always better after I do my cold therapy and my off-grid 4x4 days. So those are some of my favorite biohacks for aging well. But for sure, skincare, dermal rolling, at-home chemical peels, proper supplementation. So if we're talking about biohacks and supplements for a hot second, there's 3 types of supplements I strongly recommend you all start to employ using. This isn't medical advice. It's information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. Collagen, antioxidants, and omegas are the 3 key supplements, but you do not want to succumb to all of these beauty products that are being promoted to you on social media. There's a lot of snake oil out there. So I actually use skincare and supplements that have been formulated for 10 to 30 years. across the globe. Everything I work with is third-party independent lab tested, as well as paraben, phthalate, sulfate, artificial dyes, fragrance, not tested on animals as well. So you gotta kind of combine everything, the body, mind, spirit, energy, to really optimize, like Katie said, your aging process well into your 80s, 90s, and beyond.
Fantastic. What about you, Katie? What do you got for us?
A couple of things. I don't know if I should talk about this. Well, whatever.
Now you have to.
It's super new, so I don't have a ton of like actual like data on myself to talk about this yet. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of following Sinclair's protocol right now, where he looks a lot at like boosting your NAD levels, which is going to help your mitochondria, basically reduce inflammation. So every morning I've been doing a gram of resveratrol and NMN, which are two kind of longevity compounds that, NMN actually works on the NAD pathways, and then resveratrol is, been studying in red wine. And so that's sort of what he does. And it seems to be working really well, because if you've seen him, he's like in his 50s and he looks like he's 25. And so I'm really hoping that I put my money on the right horse with this, but we're slowly incorporating that. Another thing too that I have found is like getting into a state of autophagy. So that's, basically when you're in a fasted state and your body is having time to heal, kind of get through some of the misfolded proteins and all that stuff that happens that causes inflammation, right? So I've been a little bit more dogmatic now that I'm back, and I have a better kind of like, I don't know, being in Hawaii versus California has taught me a lot about different like food choices and levels of satiety. And I feel like being back in California, like I'm enjoying much richer, like really hearty meals. But as a result, like I then can feel like I can fast for, like an intermittent fasting period, or time restricted feeding window. So I usually do about a 14 to 16. I don't go past that. My fiance can do 24. I don't know how he does it, but for a female who is looking to optimize hormones, 14 hours is perfectly fine. And as a result, my sleep does get better, which, as Rachel pointed out, is another, they say beauty sleep, and that is a very accurate thing. You can tell when somebody's had a good night of sleep versus people who have not. The other thing too is chronic stress and managing your chronic stress, because you can see it in your skin. Like I was breaking out like crazy. It wasn't just due to the humidity, but it was also due to some stressful circumstances when I was living in Hawaii. Since then, since being back and like taking time for myself, and also putting in a couple of different practices in place on the biohacking front that I know work for me, grounding, sauna, red light, all that stuff. By doing so, my skin has actually cleared up almost overnight. So it's like, okay, well, what are we learning here? Like, let's take an analysis of what happened then and what happened here. Obviously, like, even though I was drinking more water in Hawaii, I don't necessarily think I was drinking as clean of water. And so that's another really big thing that I think people need to pay attention to is, what is your water source? And so we get our water from like a natural spring, and, we remineralize it and all that stuff. It's not coming from the tap. And so I think like, if you do want to sort of nerd out on this kind of stuff and make sure you're getting really high purity water, definitely want to test it out. They have a bunch of different kits you can do on Amazon. And make sure that you are not getting any accidental byproducts in your water. I would say if you're drinking from the tap right now, just get a filter of some sort. And I know Rachel has a lot to say on this, but I think pure water has also had a huge impact on my skin.
Yeah, I wanted to add a couple layers there. When you're talking about water, I just think it's really key to say, you need to get that better baseline, right? Better baseline for brain, beauty, biohacking, all that, life in general. You want to make sure that your food, you're doing whole foods, you're eating in accordance with your epigenetics and what your genes want. There's no skin diet. There's no brain diet. There's no heart diet. There's the diet that's right for you. So anyone that's saying, eat this or don't eat that, yes, finding like keto or whatever, like with what Katie does, but you've optimized your food choices through biohacking test kits as well to check out the gut. So optimize your food through testing instead of guessing. Making sure, yes, you're having clean water, because if you're bathing in water that's full of like pharmaceuticals and toxins, like you're literally absorbing that through the largest organ of your body. And also your air quality, I mentioned that, but also your lighting quality. So if we're talking about like stress and skin, LEDs from our studio lighting, our computers, our devices, most of us have LEDs in our homes. Though the blue light actually reaches 3 times deeper into the skin than the UVA that we get on the cloudy days and the UVB that we get on the sunny days. So right away, all of you guys could just change out your lighting in your home to halogen as much as possible. You might have to ring up an electrician. But yes, as you mentioned with Katie, with like breaking out and your skin really showing the inflammation, before I started to incorporate biohacking, I would have to go to the clinic. Probably I'd have to get laser treatments on my face almost every month and in clinic peels to deal with the redness that I was having post breakout. The redness was staying around from having a zit for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. But now, I've gone almost a year without having to need light-based laser therapy to get rid of that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, that red acne scarring. So your skin will show you when it's able to manage inflammation. So I didn't want to forget about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are some great tips. And just yesterday, I was talking about water actually to a friend of mine, and I use a device that has a reverse osmosis into it and an activated carbon, which kind of takes almost all the gunk out of the water. And then, of course, you got to remineralize it with sea salt. I use a Celtic sea salt. That's a pretty good one. But 100% like water, air, these are simple things. You got to get the basics, grounding, some red light.
Structured
lighting.
Water is pretty cool.
Structured water is pretty cool. Absolutely. Are you doing that?
Yeah, well, that's the water you'll get in free flowing sources. So say, for example, you do your cold therapy in like a stream. A lot of times I'll drink naturally running water. I've lived so far. But I have the arc pendant on as well. Some of it, I use these things to charge my water as well. But filtered, remineralized, structured water. Structured water is basically just the water in the form that is more bioavailable for the body.
Right. Or water in foods and fruits as well. That's also structured. So it's not just sitting somewhere in a stagnant state. Okay, let's ask you guys about some morning and evening routines. And I know Rachel could probably talk about this for days, but if there's people that want to improve their overall skin aesthetics from the outside, what might be your top 2 or 3 creams, tips, or routines that you might apply in the morning and the evening? What's important and how do you differentiate?
Actually, I think that maybe Katie, I want you to lead this one. And okay. I want you to start with your biohacking routine, because honestly, when we add the biohacking alongside the skin stuff, that's how you're going to maximize it. So Katie, let's hear your routine first.
You bet. So we're going to take it back to the night before, in which I have a very lovely evening routine that builds up to my morning. So I'm usually wearing my blue blocking glasses by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I've already finished my last meal. I typically like to get myself into a more relaxed state before I go to bed. I can be very hypercharged. And so I will do, I know, shocking, right? I will do typically a 30 to 40 minute Joe Dispenza track, laying on my biomat, which has all these amethyst crystals. I don't know if I believe it, but it's warm and it's lovely. And then I'll wear an eye mask as well. And so as I'm slowly kind of like drifting off, then I'll get into bed, and I typically try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but I love waking up early, and there's something that charges me up and refreshes me. And so I get up at 5:30, turn my sauna on, and then I usually do about a 30-minute sauna ice bath, come back, take my supplements, still fasting. Then I'll do some coffee. And then I love, like, absolutely, if it's sunny out, I go out for a walk first thing in the morning, maybe even just 10, 20 minutes, depending on how much time I have, to get that sun in my eyes first thing. And that basically is triggering your circadian rhythm to turn on and shut off the melatonin that you start to accumulate the night before. So the big takeaway for me is consistency, just doing the same things. It becomes a habit. It becomes what you're used to. And it also just makes for your circadian rhythm to be so much more tuned in, because if you're going to sleep at one night at 11 and you're going to sleep at 7 the other night, your body is like, we don't know when to go into REM sleep now. So I typically like to try to do consistency within a half an hour for bedtime and bed rise. And that's what I do for the biohacking stuff. And I'll let Rachel take over for the skin stuff.
By the way, there are no 35 to 40 minute Joe Dispenza tracks, FYI. So I'm not sure
the ones I have
Okay. We'll have to talk about this.
I'll have to send you my, I have some, maybe they're bootleg. I don't know. Somebody sent me one at some point, and they're like in that range. I'll do a little bit of music too beforehand just to calm me down. Cause his voice can be a little intense.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Okay. Rachel, you're up.
I love that we're actually doing the PM first, because I think that there's a lot of nuggets in like really unpacking both of our AM and PM routines. And just to like clarify, Katie has unfortunately gone through some huge family loss over the last few years. So biohacking for Katie has just allowed her to still, survive and navigate and stay resilient. And for me, it's really helped me manage pain from car crashes, keeping my brain in check. And also Katie and I both run our own businesses. We're entrepreneurs. So we really need to make sure that we're taking the time to look after ourselves and do not wear that busy badge of honor, because that will not serve anybody well, including yourself. So in the evening, like I said before, no LED lights on. It's only halogen lights. I might have my cell phone or laptop going, but I do have the F.Lux app to mitigate the blue. So then I'll hop in the bath. So I'll draw my bath. I'll have red light exposure for anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. Just depends how much I want to be a water baby that evening. I do use 1 to 2 cups of unscented magnesium, so Epsom salts. I'm a huge fan of magnesium before bed. Biooptimizers makes great make breakthrough. I really like taking that one as well. So in the bath, I'll have my Epsom salts, and then I'll also put some of my favorite pineapple body oil, which I have some right down here. You guys can get any of these products I mentioned as well through me. Like Faraz said, I can ship you my favorite super clean, locally made pineapple body oil. And it has a phthalate-free pineapple fragrance. You have to be really careful with fragrances. So I'll use the pineapple oil in the bath. I'll use it to like shave my legs. And then what happens when you get out of the tub, you're already hydrated head to toe. Like you're literally moisturized head to toe. So you emerge like a goddess, which is great. But while I'm still in the tub, this is a process here. I'll wash my face, and in the evening, I'll double cleanse my face, the face, neck, chest, top of the back as well. And I'll wash my face twice. So my first cleanse is taking off makeup, my mineral sunscreen, and the second cleanse is actually washing my face. Then sometimes I'll do a bit of a scrub. So I have, again, a magnesium scrub that I use. You have to be very careful which scrubs you're using these days, because they can actually create little micro tears. So if they're like a sugar, salt, rice, bamboo, all of that they can actually tear at the skin. And then I might do like a face mask, for example, like 20 minutes. I did my mask this morning instead of last night. So I'll kind of mix that up, but definitely double cleanse. Maybe I'll do a scrub. Maybe I'll follow it up with a mask while I'm getting my red light therapy. And then while I'm in the tub, I'll actually use a gua sha tool, and I'll go from my legs upwards. I'll actually do some gua sha on myself. So this helps to support lymphatic drainage, which will benefit your immune system, as well as help with bloating, especially when I gua sha and do some lymphatic self-massage on my abdomen. It really helps me look a little bit more shredded. Because we tend to forget about that. We tend to just focus on the face, neck, chest, but we forget about our arms, we forget about our abdomen, we forget about our legs. So we don't want to forget about that. And then sometimes what I'll do in the tub is my dermal rolling. So I have one of my rollers right here. Obviously, I can't show you guys how to do it because it's a liability concern. There's a lot of people online showing how to do dermal rolling, but top practitioners a couple of years ago, we all kind of came together and said, we're going to pull all of our injectables, laser, microneedling off the internet, because people are trying to do it at home using the wrong quality of products and things like that. So I love doing my dermal rolling at night only, because you want to create those channels of injury and then put the right products on over top and then go to bed. And then the next morning, those little tiny holes are closed. So depending on the evening, I might do just like my advanced skincare. So I might just, after cleansing, do eye cream, face moisturizer, neck cream, and go to bed. Other nights I'll do my dermal rolling. Other nights I'll do my retinol, and other nights I'll use my dermal rolling. And then one of my devices to actually allow peptides to be absorbed into the dermal layer. So as you can see, I kind of just figure out how much time I have available and how long I want to be in the bathtub for.
Can we just say,
layers.
Rachel, I love making fun of you, girl. But oh my God, that is the most productive bath I've ever heard in my life.
Sometimes I'll do emails as well. So
I was thinking,
you kill me.
You know what
You're
I was
killing
thinking?
me.
I was thinking it's a 6 p.m. to a 9 p.m. commitment. You got to just get in the bath, do all these things, do your gua sha, there's red light therapy in the bath too. Okay, do
all
that.
the things. I know. I'm literally thinking to myself, okay, how can I like listen to a hike or go on a hike, listen to a podcast and like, get some grounding done. Like those are I'm doing 3 things at once. Rachel, you just impressed me, girl. Well, I mean, you look fantastic. So guys, listen to that advice.
It's true. She looks the part. So you can't.
It's my quiet time too. It's like how I give my nervous system a break. If I don't do that, I'm not going to show up the best. So 30 to 90 minutes, right? If I'm just going to do my basic skincare, cleanse, moisturize, scrub and that kind of thing, then I can do that in 10 minutes if I have to. But that's how I really like to unwind in the evening instead of say throwing on like an action-packed Netflix. I'll do that instead. And it's just a great unwind to set myself up for bed. And I brush my teeth and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, well, that'd be great.
And I actually do. You're all about the hair, right? Faraz and hair treatment. So I actually notice when I don't put like my scalp products on or my hair oils on in the evening, my scalp the next day is a little bit more irritated and my hair is more dry. So there's also, I do like twists so I don't heat style my hair really anymore. That's also in the mix, but that legitimately only takes about 5 minutes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's a lot. Sounds good. I will try to do some of what you're saying, Rachel. It might take me a little while to work up to your schedule.
5-hour bath.
5-hour bath.
I got to check the emails too. Wait, where's the red light? What is this gua sha thing? I thought this was only what Kardashians use.
I know. My bathroom would be a mess. Like everything would be all over. I'm like, I didn't do it right, Rachel. Yeah. No,
that's so funny. Don't drop your red light. Don't drop your red light.
Or your roller.
Also.
Or your roller.
Or any of them.
Roller.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, is yours electric roller or is it not?
Mine? You can't use there's like an electric dermal roller.
Well, maybe there could be. I don't know.
You can buy these like dermal rolling pens and stuff that kind of like vibrate, but those are more for like in-clinic practitioner stuff. And I do have an opinion on those as well. But why don't we, Katie, do we want to do our AM routine?
Oh, that was only the PM?
I thought that was like, I'm confused. I thought that was like everything all in one. I thought it was just, here's my one routine and this fixes everything.
I think Katie
I kind of feel like I covered most of my routine. So, I mean, if you have more, like let's whatever you have time for us. I don't know. We could be here for a couple days.
I know.
The morning.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. The morning is definitely a little bit more pared down here. So I start the day off actually recently. I've been diving into matcha tea instead of coffee lately. And I actually noticed that I'm a little bit more calm throughout the day as well. And I'm not like getting that jitter or whatever. And I'll throw a little bit of honey in there too. And so I'll have this like fabulous whipped matcha with me. I take another bath in the morning. Call me crazy, but it's 75 minutes. No, this one's expedited. This one's expedited.
Okay, you couldn't live in California because like we deal with droughts all the time. People would have a cow if they knew you took this many baths.
Well, they might not be like full baths. They might not be like full bathtubs, right? I know you guys are all poking fun of me, but this is real life. You guys asked. So in the morning, it's pretty much just like wash my face once. And then I'll do my skincare. So that's going to be eye cream. Sometimes I'll use a serum, depending on if I'm wanting to target on hyperpigmentation, acne, dryness. Then I'll do my moisturizer, my neck cream, my sunscreen. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't have to be super complicated skincare wise. And then I'll put on my makeup. And while I'm doing my makeup, I'll also get my red light therapy going at the same time. So I did want to incorporate that because I like getting the red light in morning and evening. I'm more northern than you guys are. So I don't have as much access to sunlight. So that's actually one of the reasons why I like to use red light morning and evening, because it helps us support my circadian rhythm. And it's just part of that nice routine. I know when and if I have kids, this is going to be lost. So trust me, I'm just reveling in this stuff right now.
And the free time that you have.
3-hour baths.
That's true. You can take him in the bath with you, and then it's mommy child time.
I love it.
The
I love
baby's
you,
super
Rachel.
hydrated
Yeah.
too.
No, it's just, it's so hard to make fun of you for anything. So this was like, a very easy win for me.
I can't be the only person that does this. I mean, I think that this is what it takes. I think you got to be diligent with your AM and PM routines. It's going to look different for each and every one of us. I do have to take the baths for pain as well. So it just helps to keep on, because I like deal with whiplash and stuff like that. So
I've just always tried to optimize or expedite for efficiency, because I don't know if you've ever listened to Ben Greenfield and him talk about his morning routine. It's like a 5-hour morning routine. I'm like, what normal person does all these exercises and then all of these shakes and then all of this, it's almost to the point where this is not realistic,
right.
But I know for in fact, Rachel does that sounds like something Rachel would do. She's incorporated multiple things into this one, particular routine. And whether it's expedited one night or another, it doesn't really matter because she's doing that thing consistently. I just find that if there's too big of a barrier to entry for me, that's why I love that we have a sauna and ice bath, because I wouldn't go to a gym to do it. It's so much of what James Clear has talked about with Atomic Habits is it's got to be easy, it's got to be obvious, and it's got to be attractive. And so leave the things that you want to do out. I put my bathing suit and my towels in a bag next to the door. So it's first thing in the morning, I never have to think about it. If I want to go running in the morning, put my running shoes next to the door. Just make it easier for yourself, guys. It doesn't have to be that hard,
Yeah. It's so interesting to watch the two of you go in differences in opinion and how you approach nighttime and daytime routines. And I'm with Katie on this one, Rachel, because I'm a guy. This is how men are typically, and I'm stereotyping.
I have a lot of testosterone too. You can look at my Inside Tracker results.
Okay, I don't want to go there, but okay.
Actually, I think we should, because I actually tested a little bit higher in estrogen as well. So I do have some things that are off here, but in the past, my testosterone is more elevated. I think that there's some value here. We're kind of at a time where women are just slogging it out in their businesses, working the 9 to 5, looking after the kids, running their own business and household. And we tend to actually get a little bit too much in the masculine. Mm-hmm. So for me, taking that time to have my AM and PM routines, it pulls me more into the feminine. It pulls me more into actually being embodied, as opposed to literally we're all in the matrix each and every day. So it's the one or two times during the day that I get that to myself. We have to be super careful with this whole estrogen dominance and testosterone imbalance. The sooner we learn about these imbalances through these biohacking tests, like Katie mentioned, Inside Tracker, there's so many wonderful ones on the market. We can identify when things are yellow flags, especially when we're a bit younger, before they become yellow flags or red flags. So I think there's a lot of value in just pointing that out, keeping that balance with the masculine and feminine in our daily lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic call out. I just had a call with a naturopathic physician that was telling me about estrogen dominance and how it's so prevalent with women and the high levels of cortisol and stress and taking on, women typically hold glue, are the glue to the family. They're taking care of their parents, they're taking care of the kids, they're making sure everybody's taken care of at the expense of their own health in a lot of ways. And so, then working on a full-time job or a business, which there's no downtime in a business, just makes things so much more complicated. So yeah, it's all connected, and we've got to take time to ourselves to relax, to calm down. And if you add kids to the mix, that's a whole different ballgame. And I'm sure, or if you guys want to get there, ladies, then you'll probably see that, but it's a whole different ballgame as well. So a lot of empathy for what women do in the world and what they bring.
Well, I saw my mom live this way. She was a night nurse. She dedicated 25 years of her life to her clients, and she burned herself out. She was 210 pounds and developed estrogen receptive breast cancer. So that's why I take this position, is because I saw what one of my family members did, and I learned from that, actually from my teens. So that's why I don't wear that busyness badge of honor. That's why I do put my health and wellness first, because that way it's like putting your oxygen mask on first. So direct family, a correlation and potential issue for me for that estrogen receptive dominance, breast cancer, all of that. So just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we're coming up on time, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, ladies, what. So, side note, Katie, are you working with clients one-on-one right now?
I am, yes.
Okay. So, when you do coach your clients, the ones that have the best results, what are they typically doing? So, in Rachel's case, I think they're taking 90-minute showers or 90-minute baths. But what are the obvious reasons or obvious, common characteristics of the clients that are succeeding and really thriving in both of your consulting practices?
Yeah. And I will just say for the most part, like I do a one-on-one kind of like holistic biohacking consultation where, if somebody comes to me with some, they're looking for recommendations on certain practices, like I am happy to walk them through there, but like my specialty is sleep. And so what I found is a lot of people come to me with issues around insomnia, with issues around, just falling asleep, or even sometimes undiagnosed sleep apnea, which I think is a huge issue for a lot of people. And you don't know that you have it unless you have a partner who's telling you you're snoring, and that, there's a lot of stuff. And again, this is not medical advice. But what I try to do is at least steer people into the direction of, seeking out a device. There is some stuff on the market right now that is in the process of getting FDA approved. It's a company I really admire what they're doing to help people get that diagnosis. And then from there, what do you do? Like you can go to a sleep lab or you can consult with your doctor. So I try to help people identify some of the, issues around their sleep and how we can fix that. Now, that sleep apnea, huge issue, like way bigger than I ever imagined before I started this channel. And so I definitely wanted to make a point to mention that. But for them, everyone else who's kind of falling out of that range, I really help coach them on, practices that are going to work for their lifestyle around their sleep routines. And that's, including evening and morning. And of course, it depends on, where they are in the world, if they have family members. But like, for instance, if somebody is like, I'm really having a hard time going to sleep, but, I work out at 8 p.m. every night. Well, that might be one of the reasons. So can we flip it, and especially new parents, it's always really hard. And so how can you then maybe make up for that lack of sleep later in the day, using a nap as a tool, using binaural beats, using a meditation soundtrack, so like I try to customize it around their lifestyle. And it's hard because I'm not in everybody's house, and I wish I could be and help them on that front. But I use what's worked for me or what has worked, that I've seen in data, and try to help kind of create this very holistic and easy approach to getting their sleep back. Because my God, if you don't have your sleep, it's, a couple of nights of bad sleep, and you can feel it in your productivity, focus, and energy that you put out into the world.
Well, thank you for your passion around that. I can actually imagine you, if you were physically in your clients' homes, physically removing their distractions out of the way so they can be more optimized in their life. Do you work with both men and women, Katie?
Yes, but for some reason, I only get men.
Okay, good to
that's like my demographic though, right? Like I'm in a male-dominated industry. Yeah. Biohacking, like you think of the people that are in this world talking about this stuff, like there are not a ton of women. And so that's just par for the course. And, it's kind of fun though, because it gives me a chance to like help, men obviously as best as I can, but it also helps them with their relationships with their partners too. Mm-hmm. And so, there's like this new thing happening with a lot of wearables now, where like the Whoop strap and the Oura Ring are talking about menstrual cycle coaching, which, that used to be taboo to talk about back in the day, but like guys could really benefit from learning about that too with their partners potentially, because it's just going to give them data points that they can then kind of, help foster the relationship in a better way during those times of the month. I know it's certainly worked with my fiance, and I think it's, it's a nice starting point to have these kind of conversations. But I also learn a lot from men too, and I live with one. So I know a lot about, how the brain works. And at the end of the day, we're all human, right? So it really doesn't matter.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, it is male dominated, but hopefully the two of you and other women are helping change some of that. Rachel, how are your best clients succeeding and flourishing?
Yeah, well, as I alluded to at the very beginning of this interview, is that I just really started to take notes out of the playbook of my most vibrant clients that were meeting with me. And I was just really investigating and asking questions of how they're living their lives. Again, there is a subset of individuals that I work with in their 60s to 80s that have never done really anything for their skin, but they have these body, mind, spirit, energy practices. So some of the things that I'll see are, the way that they move their bodies is going to be a combination of strength training, cardiovascular training, and flexibility. What they do to stimulate their mind. So I do 4x4ing. I play electric guitar. I love doing more of those like male dominated activities because I'm super feminine in my work. So that's also how I find balance there. Having a spiritual component is also something really important. So when we're talking about different meditation practices, you just simply find something that is in resonance with, say, for example, your lineage and all of that, and then energy. So it's really a combination of all of those things that are going to body, mind, spirit, energy practices cultivate a higher form of radiance and vitality in your life. And I actually wrote an ebook on these observations called Unlocking Your Vitality that you can get at rachelvarga.ca. Now, what I do for my clients is I take a customized approach. So not everybody has 30 to 90 minutes in an evening for their skincare routine and biohacking and all that, and that's cool. So what I do is I sit down with my clients through a call just like this. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I love just helping people optimize what they're doing. So my clients let me know what products they're currently using, what's working, what's not working. I check ingredients for them live. I then can make specific recommendations. So depending on what their budget allows for as well, I can make sure that they're using something that is going to be in alignment with their budget and lifestyle, and also super clean, but efficacious, because I see what my clients keep coming back for with a lot of these products that I've worked with, 13 brands to be precise, well, actually over that since 2011. And then I give them an at-home plan and also talk about maybe some laser interventions, peel options, dermal rolling options, other in-clinic options. And then I also let them know of a few providers in their area with the laser technologies that I like. And also potentially I've trained fellow clinicians, doctors and nurses where they live too. So I pull on my network. So it's kind of holding their hands from just getting started to adding more advanced protocols, adding dermal rolling, then maybe adding some of the in-clinic stuff. And I'm there for my clients along the way, answering questions over email. Little do they know, half the time I'm in the bathtub. And, and also through some of my ongoing programs, I do skin camps every season too. That's where I actually do my live dermal rolling demos, is in my consultations and in my skin camps. I can't really put that stuff publicly, but just like Katie, we offer customized approaches to our clients and meet them where they're at and help them optimize their skincare and rejuvenation options. And Katie, with biohacking, that's going to be in accordance with their budget and lifestyle. All this stuff can be really overwhelming, but it's Katie and I's job to figure out what's really going to create the biggest impact, and usually for the lesser price point as well. So we absolutely love helping our clients save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So basically, Katie and I, we sleep very, very well at night. And wanted to also give a shout out. I'm happy to extend this Faraz Khan as a promo code, first and last name, no space, for 15% off of your one-on-one with me. That all of Katie's and our information is at beautyandthebiohacker.com. So I just wanted to throw that out. A little bit of a promo code to save them coin on their session with me.
Save some loonies or dollars? Which one is it?
Well, actually, now I'm huge into cryptocurrency, so
okay, you can
there's that as well, right?
You can pay Rachel with Dogecoin, and that's all good.
No.
That's what she's doing in the bath. She's downloading
I can't do crypto. I can't do crypto in the bath. It's like too much. I need like my Ledger wallet. I need my phone. I need my like password keys. Like that is not in the bath.
Too many. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds good. Thank you for offering the discount code Faraz Khan. If you're a listener and you're checking this podcast out and you like what these two beautiful ladies have to say, please make sure to check them out at their respective websites. Look at Beauty and the Biohacker, Rachel Varga, Katie Moore, easily foundable on Google. And with that said, ladies, thank you so much for coming on the Anti-Aging Hacks show.
Thank you. This was such a joy. And I appreciate everything that you're doing as well for the, anti-aging world, which is constantly evolving. So I'm thrilled to be kind of part of this journey with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us and poking a little fun at me. We don't want to take this whole aging business too seriously, so I'm fine with that. We just want to be strategic with it and figure out what feels good for you. But you can have some fun while you're at it. Do that self-discovery, figure out what lights you up to allow you to be your most radiant version on the inside out.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And I hope the listeners can understand that I hold Rachel and Katie in the highest regard. Any light fun that we poked during this podcast was in good spirits. So anyway, with that said, thanks everybody for listening and talk to you guys soon.